right, we are live. Don't think anybody's in here just yet. A minute or two late. Hopefully you guys didn't miss me and think that I wasn't going to join tonight. Just been crazy busy here lately. So let me get set up in the chat here. Eventually. For some reason it's not showing up as a live broadcast here. Am I having some problems? I'm going to have to start over. There we go. Now we're getting in here. All right, give me a second to get all set up here and we will get going. If this is your first time to a live broadcast, we got Exotic Keeper, the first one here, and Antonio Garcia is here. Give me a second, guys, and I'll talk a little bit more. And get to greetings. I gotta get my chat all set up. Okay, so let me get through this stuff like I normally do here just as I introduce the live broadcast. If this is your first time here, I do these pretty much every Thursday night, 7 o'clock Central, unless, of course, life gets in the way, which it does sometimes. Let's adjust that camera a little bit. Hopefully that's, I don't guess you guys really care what angle you're seeing me at, do you? Anyway, it is just pretty much an Ask Me Anything session, so I do my best to answer all the chats that come in. So if you don't get your question answered, then, you know, give me a little while. There's a little bit of delay. Sometimes it takes me a while to get through all of them. But then just go ahead and ask again. I'll do my best to get it answered for you guys. So let's get into this real quick here. Antonio Garcia is here. Christian Acevedo. Yeaterson. Antonio Garcia again was the first one. Well, I think Exotic Keeper was the first one. Beat you, but just a little bit, Antonio. One thing I will say to you guys is make sure that you keep your comments. I'm not warning anybody in the chat right now, but we've had problems in the past. Make sure you keep your comments clean. This is family friendly. And it is, you know, don't spam us because I will end up having to block you. Anyway, Michelle R., good evening to you. Kenneth Meggers, I think it is, Riverside Country Club. Michelle Theron answered the call, huh? Thank you for joining us. Appreciate that. Nikki Short, hello to you. Native Illyrian. Oh, you missed last week. That's okay. We're not keeping track. It'll be fine. Thanks for joining this week. We appreciate it. Ron Strobel from pretty darn cold Tennessee. It's pretty darn cold, I think, everywhere. Actually, starting to warm up a little bit here. I think the temperature outside right now is like mid-30s, 35, 36. Much better than it was the last couple of days. We didn't get nearly as cold as most of you guys up in the north. It was brutal bad, but not nearly as bad here. I think the coldest we got was like 7 degrees, and that was overnight, so it wasn't that bad. Hey, Antonio's got a rabbit due tomorrow. Congratulations. Hope it goes well. And John Sweeten is here. And who else here? Christian says, Chris, what's up with your worm farm? And will you ever make a real worm farm? Oh, the worms. Okay, I made a worm farm for a video one time. Yeah, the worms died. Well, not because of the worm farm itself. We had a bug problem of some kind. We had to end up exterminating everything. We had to move everything out of the house and blah, 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 blah. Long story short, had the worm farm out in the garage. It ended up getting knocked over and upside down one day, and they just they didn't make it through that. So have to start over with that, but I'll get it going eventually. And Yeet wants to know how my wife is doing. Do have an update on that. Give me a minute to get through the hellos and all that, and we'll give you an update on my wife. Thanks for asking. John says, got my first got my first ever quail egg this week. Congratulations on that. That is that's the best egg you ever get, I think. Hello to you, Raphael, and Todd from Louisiana. And it is lagging. I'm sorry, guys, if it's lagging. Let me see something here real quick. My internet's having problems. Maybe if I disconnect from internet. Don't know if I can do that while I'm on the video. Give me a second, guys. Let's see what I can do here. Hopefully this doesn't disconnect us. All right, hopefully we're still live. I didn't lose too much. Maybe that'll make it a little bit better. Let me know if you're still having lag problems with it. Just going over the network instead of the internet connection. Maybe, who knows, maybe that will be better. All right, Barrett Turtleman's here. Hello to you. Yeet's gonna be right back. Me too, Juanita. Yep, lagging. Okay, hopefully that fixed it. Good evening to you, Skylark Rabbitry. Ultimate Outdoor Boys, hello. Oh, and saying hey to Barrett. Hey, must be some friends in here. Nikki, what's up? Okay, Kinfolk from Georgia. Good evening to you, and says love the light. And if you don't know what he's talking about, the new solar light I'm coming out with, it's going to be on Kickstarter very, very soon. If you go back and watch that video, there's a link at the bottom you can click on. It'll take you to the page. You can kind of sign up for email updates and things. I'll let you know as soon as it goes live. Well, as soon as the Kickstarter goes live, I'll give you an update before it goes live, so you'll know when it's going to go live. Because there will be a number of, I have to limit them, but a number of spots where you can actually get in at kind of a reduced price, a little bit less than what it's going to come out at. I can't offer too many of those because, well, I would go broke. So I can't afford to lose money on this deal. I'm not looking to get rich or anything like that, but I can't afford to lose money on it. So that's the plan anyway. Make sure if you do sign up through there, I will tell you, make sure you confirm your email address. I've got a lot of people signed up and haven't confirmed their email address, so I don't have any way to contact you and let you know about those things. All right, where are we at here? Hello to you, Boris. And Richard of Danbury says, we had -5 as of 5 a.m. this a.m. Yeah, -5 is pretty cold. It didn't get that cold here. And Exotic Keeper says, man, I'm an hour north of Kansas City, Missouri, and just lost a Cali breeding female I just bought. No blood at all. Must have been too cold. Maybe. It's rare for rabbits don't really struggle in the cold that much. They usually handle it very, very well as long as you have a good wind block for them. Sorry to hear that you lost them. I wish I could tell you exactly what was causing that, but boy, it's anybody's guess, honestly. It could be any number of things. Hopefully it gets better anyway. All right. Raphael says, say hi to your wife from Newport News, Virginia. So Yeet says, my first successful, I will, by the way, I will. Thank you very much. I will tell her that. Yeet saying, my first successful batch of eggs are hopefully going to hatch on Friday the 10th. I'm so excited. Well, congratulations. But Friday is not the 10th. That would be Sunday. Sunday's the 10th. No, Friday's the 8th. Next Friday is anyway. God's Outdoor Disciple says, hi from Chase in Illinois. Thanks for joining us. Audio's been cutting out. Uh-oh. That's not good. And Ron says that's pretty much common. All the YouTubers today you watched live were cutting out. All right, well, hopefully this is working. Castle Rock from Southwest Missouri. You got to be pretty close to me then. I am in Southwest Missouri too, and it's not that big of a place. All right, hello to you, Dakota. Jesse Jackson says, my quail are cold weather warriors. Yeah, mine handle the cold just fine. I did have one that got a little bit injured, must have got in the water or something because there was a little bit of blood on the water dish, you know, that they use. But I couldn't figure out which one it was that hurt. They all seemed to be fine, so recovered just fine. And Juanita from Atlanta, Georgia is here. And Exotic Keeper wants me to disclose a MSRP for the light. I guess what you're saying is you want to know what the price is going to be. Still working that out. I don't have the exact price. It's probably going to be in the $40 to $50 range, somewhere in between there. I've got to work out the price of buying the product, getting it to myself, and the shipping costs and all those to get it over here. Costs quite a bit. It's more than what I wanted it to be initially, but I wanted a really good light. And I could have gone cheaper, but it would have been a light that didn't really work that well. Either wasn't bright enough, didn't last long enough, didn't charge well enough, whatever. So I opted to go with quality over, price. I wanted to make sure, like I told this supplier, cheap is good, but it's not good if it doesn't meet your needs. And I wanted to make sure it was going to be a light that met everybody's needs. So that's probably the price range it's going to go for. But again, I'm still working that out. I'm going to sell it for as little as I can and not lose money on it. But still got to work all those details out. But I should know pretty quick. I'm looking at probably live on Kickstarter probably within the next 2 weeks. All right. Oh, I'm sorry, guys, with the buffering problems. Are we still having problems with that? Yeah, I imagine it's sweats weather. Oh, by Branson, Castle Rock. Yeah, that's not too terribly far from me. I'm in Joplin, so Branson's a little over an hour drive. All right, looks like we do have some lagging problems tonight, guys. I'm sorry about that. Give me a comment or something. Let me know if you're still able to follow along or if it's too bad. Hopefully it's not that bad. Okay, hopefully it gets better. I don't know. There's not much else I can do, unfortunately. And let's see. KDC says, hello from Columbia, Missouri. Prayers for your wife. Hope she is doing well. Thank you so much. She is doing well. And the Bluesman Sasquatch Chaser says, my doe just laid 7 eggs. Your doe laid eggs, huh? That's something I would like to see. All right, let's give you an update on my wife while we're letting everybody catch up here. Okay, so if you guys don't know, my wife has breast cancer. I've kind of posted some videos along the way of that. But we met with the oncologist this week, and praise God, thank you for all the prayers that have come out. No chemotherapy necessary for her. I think she's probably still a little stressed out. I think on one hand, she's kind of thinking maybe, I should have had, chemotherapy now so I don't have to deal with it later in life if it comes back. But, but at the same time, it is a... All right, did we get back in here? Let's see, hang on a minute. This is going to be all kind of jumbled up till I get the camera all situated. Or I should say the phone. All right, hopefully we are a little bit better now. Restarting may have helped. I can't get the camera situated. All right, so who we got here? To live is to suffer says, hello, I'm new to your channel, but I've been considering getting quail sometime soon. How do you find out if it's legal or not in my area? Have only been able to find info on hunting them. Okay, so good question. Let me make sure everybody can hear me now. Somebody respond to me if you can hear me. If the audio is okay now, the stream is okay now. I need to let that catch up. Make sure I'm not wasting time on that. Hopefully we're good. It's going to take a minute for the voice to get through. But anyway, okay, I'll just go ahead and answer that question. Okay, to know whether quail are legal in your area, they probably are, as long as you're not raising something like bob whites or something like that that are native to your area. But if you're going to be raising coturnix, they probably are. They fall under more of like a livestock, a poultry type than they do under hunting. So you shouldn't have any problems with that if there's no city ordinances against them. I don't know, if you live in the States, I don't know of a state in the country where it's illegal. So hopefully that answers that question for you. All right. So yeah, Backyard Survivalist says maybe get a microphone. Yeah, I've used microphones in the past. Somebody gave me feedback that it sounds just as good without the microphone. So who knows? We'll see. The videos are lagging behind. I've got it playing in the background, and it's just now at the point where I restarted. So we'll take a minute or two to get caught up here. Hang on just a second. Yep, great news about the wife. Indeed, Ron Strobel. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Let's see, this is very far behind tonight, so we've got to get caught up. It's a little bit awkward. I can't, I don't know, it's weird. To Live is to Suffer says, hit the thumbs up, everyone. And you're in Aurora, Colorado. Never been to Aurora, Colorado, someplace I may have to visit. All right, hello to you, Rhonda from Ohio. Good to see you in here. Thanks for joining the live broadcast. Hopefully we're good now. This is going to be a really boring replay because there's big gaps of silence, probably where I'm waiting for the chats to catch up to me. Sounds like I'm skipping, huh? Oh, that's not good. Still buffering, still choppy. Let me try one more thing here. It doesn't work very well. Yep, Aretha Manchester says, hello, good evening, glad to hear of the good news for your wife. Weather here is bad, can be a big cause for the earth. It could be, who knows. So now I'm getting a loud and clear from Backyard Survivalist. Maybe it's working now, I don't know, it's hard to say. Hello to you, Brandia from Kentucky and from New York, Aretha Manchester. All good now? Okay, Ronnie says, are quail noisy? It depends. I mean, it's kind of a subjective thing. They do make noise. I mean, the roosters crow, but it's nowhere near as loud as like a chicken rooster crowing or anything. Most people think they sound a lot like songbirds. So, like my neighbors, it doesn't bother them at all. I have them out in, not too far, but out in my backyard, and I very seldom ever even notice them crowing. Even at night when I'm in the bedroom, or early morning, I should say. They don't really crow that much at night, but early morning when I'm, just waking up and they're starting to crow, I don't really notice them too much. I don't hear them too much. They're not that loud. Now, if you were going to keep them in a house, like in your house, in your bedroom, then yeah, that's going to be a little bit annoying at times because they are going to be a little noisy there. But they're not terribly noisy. So hopefully that answers that question for you. Hello to you, Syrah Flame. Hopefully I got that name right. All right, Castle Rock says, should have 2 new litters of rabbits in the next few days. Will both my doe's second litters. Can't wait. Will be both of my doe's second litters. Can't wait. Well, good luck with that. I hope it goes well. All right, Skylark Rabbitry says, it's just laggy but not impossible. My first try with quail was a flop. I'm going to try again this year. I hope with custom cages versus refurbishing some old rabbit cages like last time. Well, you know, you should be able to work well with old rabbit cages. Now, you will have to replace the floor because most rabbit cages have the spacing and the wire is just too big for quail feet. It's not good for them. So you may have to replace the bottom with something else, and make sure you give them a wind block, something that can block the wind so they're not just out in the elements all the time. But they should work just fine. But I'm sure your next experience with them will go much better. Good luck with it. All right. Michelle, such good news. Happy for the family. Thank you very much. We are too. Sean says, can a dusk to dawn streetlight work as a light to help keep quail laying? I'm sure it could. Yeah, it would work actually. Thing I would worry about there is that you don't want to give them 24 hours a day of light. They need a break. They need you know, some kind of nighttime to give them a break from that. It would keep them laying, but it also may cause some aggression problems and some of those kinds of things because it's just too much light. There's no break from it. But, you know, try it out and see how it works. Keystone says, to live is to suffer. I live in Colorado, and you can raise Coturnix quail here, no problem. There you go. Still very choppy. I'm sorry, guys. Rhonda says, Ronnie Nitcher, I have quails in my bedroom and can sleep at night just fine. Yeah, I can imagine in my bedroom they would get pretty annoying, though. I may not be married very long if I had them in the bedroom. Sarah Flame says, I lost a big litter last week. 18 babies in all. The mom ate babies. What should I do? Man, I'm so sorry to hear that. That happens, but it's very, very rare that it happens. It's usually something, but, you know, you had a litter of 18 babies. That's an incredibly big litter. It was probably way too much for the mother to be able to handle. There's probably not a whole lot you can do about it now because you lost the whole litter. It's crazy that she ate all of them. I would try again. Chances are you're not going to have a problem again. If it does happen again, then it may be time to look for another doe. That's just bad mothering instincts. And unfortunately, there's not a whole lot more I can say about it than that. There are some reports about people using, like, put a piece of raw bacon in there whenever she has her babies. But again, you should not have to, I mean, that would give her something to eat. It's not the babies, of course, because they believe that it's like a protein lack, you know, lack of protein, something like that that's causing it. But again, it's a very rare thing. It doesn't happen very often, and it's even more rare for it to happen twice in a row, 2 litters in a row. All right, grab a drink there, and then we'll be good to go. All right, so where are we at here? KDC says, I have a pen of 15 female jumbo Coturnix. What's a good number of males to introduce, and what is the best way to introduce them to the girls? Okay, that's a pretty common thing. The best number is about a 1-to-3, 1-to-4 ratio. So I would go with 15. Let's see, you would need 3, probably 4. I would go with 4 males. As far as introducing them to them, try to do it when, like, now's a good time. If you don't have any extra light on your females, because they're not in the breeding mode, or mood, I guess you should say. When their hormones aren't up because they're not breeding. They're not laying eggs. The roosters aren't crowing. It's a good time to introduce. There's still going to probably be some fighting, though. It's probably best to take them out there at night when they can't see what's going on. Put them in there. Watch real close, though, that your males don't get beat up. The females will, you know, especially if it's breeding season, the females will usually get sick of that. They'll turn and they'll start pecking at the males, pecking them in the eyes. They can peck their eyes out. If you have problems with that, it might be good to separate them and maybe take like 2 or 3 of the females and move them in with 1 or 2 of the males. So there's kind of an even number, roughly, of new birds to new birds, and none of them get kind of picked on. Move them to a completely new enclosure and kind of spread them out like that, and then kind of bring them all back together. And that might help as well. A couple of ways you can do that. Now, again, if it's not the breeding season, you don't have extra light on them, the days are short, so the females aren't laying, the roosters aren't crowing, you might be able to get away with just putting them in there, and it may just be fine. Hopefully that helps answer that a little bit. All right, Live to Suffer says, K-Stone, what part do you live in? I asked because chickens are allowed in Aurora, but rules are pretty strict, and like I said, I can't find any info on quail. Well, if chickens are allowed in your area, chances are quail are going to be too. They're just not in there because nobody's dealt with it before. You can probably get away with it. I wouldn't worry about it at all. And it's one of those things where sometimes it's just better to ask forgiveness than it is permission. So, you know, I would just do it. I wouldn't worry about it, but that's just me. All All right, Ronnie says, okay, thank you to Rhonda. From Zero Home says, hey everyone, hello to you from Zero to Homestead. K-Stone says, if chickens are allowed, quail would be too. Yep, that's kind of what I said too. Cristo Hernandez, I think I got it right. Hello. All right, Rhonda says, my temp here the past few days has been insane. It was negative 32. Good grief, that's cold. With the wind chill, and my rabbits did great. I was really scared. I put tarps on all sides, but the bottom was left open so air could still get in. Yeah, they usually handle the cold really well. As long as you can give them a wind block and they're not just in the wind constantly blowing on them, they're usually okay. All right, Live to Suffer says, K-Stone, are you the one that says they'll be ready mid to late February? You're talking about, I think, his Craigslist ad for quail there. All right, Christo says, what can you use other than a heat lamp? Last night, my heat lamp started a fire. Oh my goodness, that's scary thing about heat lamps. You got to be really careful with them. Make sure they're not close to anything else. There is a fire hazard by using heat lamps, but yeah, you can use heat mats. You can use ceramic heat bulbs. There's all kinds of different things you can use for heat. I use a heat lamp on mine, but yeah, it is something you have to keep an eye on and be careful with. But they do make ceramic heat bulbs. They're a little bit safer. You might try those as well. All right, Backyard Survivalist says, Fort Worth, Texas, 58 today, low 70s by next week. Yeah, I'm jealous. Well, it's supposed to be in the 60s this weekend, so pretty nice. Christian says, Chris, you know the birdhouse gourd you're going to grow? If you cut the top off and empty it out, it will be a water bottle and uses a wine cork to plug the hole. Yeah, that's a good idea. You could do that for sure. To Live to Suffer says, K-Stone, they are allowed but pretty restricted. Why I was looking into quail. That and my space is very limited. It's one of the reasons I raise quail. If I raise chickens, which I could have chickens, they are allowed, but again, they're restricted. And I can't have roosters. So that means I can't get fertile eggs, hatch out chickens, raise them. And with quail, I can have roosters. Nobody's going to complain. As long as nobody complains, the city doesn't come down. There's no ordinance against it anyway. But if there was, even then, the city's not going around just looking for people to bust for that thing. If the neighbors complain, then they would come and maybe address it. But other than that, not a problem. And none of my neighbors have complained, so no big deal. All right, Skylark Rabbitry says, it's not uncommon for does to lose their first litters. Absolutely true. Does will clean up dead kits and kill entire litters due to stress. They can. It's rare that they will kill an entire litter, but a lot of times you're right. They will clean up dead kits, and they may have lost it because they're first-time mom, and with 18 babies, probably couldn't have fed them all, so that may have been what caused the issue with that. Good point, Skylark. Thank you for commenting. All right, how are we doing here? It's almost 30 minutes in. Are we still doing okay, guys? Give me a comment, let me know. Or if it's too laggy, we may have to end this early and put it off and pick it up again next week, I guess, because I don't know when I'll have time to do it again. Time to do it again before next week anyway, let's put it that way. It looks like, again, I've got the video playing in the background. It looks pretty laggy on my side, but I can't tell if that's just me or if that's on your side as well. Hard to say. All right, the chat has slowed down for sure. These are the times where I need to have a good topic to discuss, so I'm not just sitting here going, waiting on a chat to come in. Let's see what's been going on this week. Been a busy week for me. Kind of changing positions at work a little bit. Well, changing clients anyway, dealing with somebody else. So it's been just incredibly busy trying to get all that stuff done. Been very, very busy, but hey, it could be worse, and it's not forever, so glad I got time to do the live broadcast. I was worried I wasn't going to be able to do it. I've been working, bringing work home with me and working until 8, 9 o'clock at night sometimes, and tonight I got a little bit of a break from that. All right, Rhonda says, I bought eggs on Craigslist, and out of 16, only 4 hatched, and they were all weak, only 1 doing great, mostly feathered out. Can't wait to find out how many males and females I have. Yeah, oh boy, I hope it's not all males. That's my luck whenever I get eggs. It's always hatch out way more males than I do females. Sorry to hear about your poor hatch rate. It could be any number of things. It could be, the person you bought them from, maybe they weren't fertile to begin with, maybe they weren't stored properly. Any number of reasons that cause that. All right, I Live to Suffer says, Talk about a small world. I've been debating whether to respond to your ad due to possible restrictions since I found out about quail and this channel. Yeah, it is a small world, isn't it? You run into people all the time that just, who would have thought, right? Sarah Flame says, thanks, I'm going to try. What does that say? Thanks, I'm going to try her once more. And yeah, crazy number of babies. I was going to separate the babies with my Dutch doe. She had only 2 babies. That's a good idea. Yeah, foster them off if you can. 18 is a huge litter. Very seldom can they raise more than about 10 or 11. So yeah, 18's way big. If you had a Dutch doe that only had 2 though, that might have been a good place to go ahead and foster the other babies to. Hopefully they would have done better. Again, sorry to hear about your problems. Hopefully it goes better the next time. I'm sure it will. It usually, especially with first-time does, first litter is always a little bit chaotic, a little bit stressful. So let's see. Well, you guys probably saw the video update recently. The babies are doing fine. Got them weaned off. Everything's going great. Mother's eating a whole lot still, but she should start calming down here pretty quick. Rhonda says, my doe is due on Saturday, and I put the nest box in, and she's making a nest. No pulling fur yet, or no pulling fur just yet, so I'm thinking she is, in fact, pregnant. Probably is. You know, I wouldn't expect her to pull fur. Most of mine don't even pull fur until after the babies are born. Like, they have the babies and then pull the fur right over the top of them. All right, Mary Sunshine says, would you recommend raising quail entirely indoors? You know, it depends on your setup. If you want to do that, absolutely. There's no reason you can't. I don't think I would want to do that simply because they can be a little bit noisy and there's going to be a lot of mess that comes along with it. They throw stuff everywhere, like their feathers go all over the place, especially like they have anything to kick in, like a dust bath or anything, they're going to kick that all over the place. So you're going to want to make sure that you have a pretty good way to catch all their droppings, to contain all that kind of mess, so it didn't just go everywhere all over your house. It's not, I mean, I'm making it probably a little bit bigger of a deal than it is. Rhonda raises them in her bedroom, she was saying. So, you know, it can be done, and lots of people do it, and they do just fine. I did raise them in the garage for a little while, and that was pretty easy. That wasn't bad at all. But there was a little bit of, mostly feathers is really the biggest problem. They just tend to throw feathers all over the place, so you would find feathers just laying around a little bit. But to me, it's easier for me to just keep them outside. It's easy. I don't have to empty dropping trays, all those kinds of things. It's just less work, so that's why I do it. But yeah, if you want to raise them inside, go for it. All right, where are we at here? All right, Native Illyrian says, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right. It's Native, not Native or something. I don't know. Says, hey Chris, would I create a new bloodline with my quail so I don't have to worry about inbreeding? Because even if I keep buying eggs off the same sellers, surely that would affect the quail. You know, inbreeding's not a big concern with quail. You know, I've kept them going with the same bloodlines for a long time and never had a problem with it. I do like to introduce a little bit of new blood in, but I wouldn't worry if you buy this from the same seller or not. The chances are not all of your birds, I mean, it's not, sure, some of them may be very closely related, but not all of them will be. I really wouldn't worry about it. Oh, Mary says, thanks, was thinking about predators. That's why you're talking about raising them indoors. Yeah, you know, I haven't had any problems with predators, but my predator pressure is pretty low. Most of the predators we have around here are raccoon, possum, some, you know, like stray cats and those kinds of things. And with my raised up hutches, you know, they stand about, I guess they're probably 3.5 feet or so off the ground. It hasn't been a problem. I've got camera, you know, put the trail cam out there and caught raccoons coming up and, you know, kind of checking it out, but they haven't been able to climb up there and get into it yet. So it hasn't been a problem. I haven't lost any for that. But, you know, again, my predator pressure is pretty low. Let's see. Catherine, one of my does killed her first litter when they were born. Just had her second litter 2 weeks ago. 8 in all. She took great care of them until her eyes opened. Then she killed them again. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry to hear that. Time to look for another rabbit then, unfortunately. Some rabbits they just don't have good mothering instincts. So, you know, sometimes you just can't do anything about it. All right. Catherine says she starved herself for a whole week before they were born and while nursing. Why? That's very strange. Usually my does will eat a lot more whenever they start getting close to having their babies, and especially after they're born, they'll have a lot more. So that would be, I mean, I don't know exactly what would cause that. But again, I think it sounds like bad mothering instincts. If it was me, I'd be looking for another rabbit. No more lag now, huh? No more lag for me. Been following along. Anyone will, any who will cleaning my indoor cages and turning eggs. Oh, while turning eggs and cleaning the cages, you're following along. Well, thanks for taking us along on your chores. Appreciate that. Sarah says, I raise my rabbits, chickens, ducks, quail. Never had anyone complain about any of them, minus a loose chicken here and there. Yeah, a chicken can do a lot of damage if they get into somebody's garden or something. But yeah, most of my neighbors are pretty calm and pretty easy to deal with on that. All right, looks like everything's going well. Jesse Jackson says, going to start seeds soon. Yeah, it'll be a couple of weeks out before I start mini. You know, most of them, like like my tomatoes, my peppers, and a lot of those kinds of things, I don't start those until like the very end of February, because I don't put them in the ground until May. So I have started them as early as, like early February, mid-February. But what happens is they end up getting so big, I end up having to pot them up a couple of times, and it's hard to find enough room to keep all that together, and then I don't really get that much of a jump start on it. So I usually start them towards the end of February, 1st of March, right around in there, and then have them ready to go out by the first, second week of May. All right, where are we at here? Christian says, Chris, can I grow cucumbers and cantaloupe on a wire fence around? Yeah, absolutely. That's how I grow mine. Yeah, I grow all my cucumbers. In fact, growing up as a kid, my grandpa always had a pretty good garden. I didn't realize anybody didn't grow them on a wire fence type thing until I was much older. I thought that was just how you did cucumbers, But yeah, I grow them. I use my tomato cages, they're just kind of like hog wire wrapped in a big circle. That's what I use, and they climb those just great. Cantaloupe the same way. Now, if you've got really big melons, like the cantaloupe get really big, they may get too heavy to grow vertically and support the weight, but you can make little like hammocks basically out of like old t-shirt material or something, and tie it off to the cage and just let the cantaloupe kind of rest in that hammock, that little cloth hammock, and that'll support the weight of the cantaloupe while it ripens, so it doesn't fall off the vine prematurely or anything like that. But yeah, I grow all my cantaloupe and my cucumbers vertically. Otherwise, they take up like 12 feet of garden space straight out, and it's crazy. So yeah, vertical is the way to go. All right. Sarah says, I got 36 chicken eggs in my DIY incubator. So far, it's going good. Well, can't congratulate you yet because they haven't hatched, but good luck with that hatch. We had to do a DIY chicken incubator when I was a kid. My grandpa built, and it was just like a wooden box with a glass front and had a adjustable, like a incandescent bulb with a adjustable, a dimmer switch, so you could adjust the light, the heat. And it worked well. We hatched out chickens with it. All right, Christian says, you should try duck. I hear they are very cold hardy and good egg producers. Yeah, I've been thinking about adding some ducks. I may at some point. Michael says, Exotic Keeper, my chores are second nature now. No worries, thanks to Chris's tutelage. Well, thank you so much for the kind comments. I'm glad that you find my videos helpful, and I'm glad that I've been able to help you out in some way. All right, Ronnie says, would quail do okay in a cob chicken house? I'm not sure what a cob chicken house is. C-O-B, cob. I don't know what that is. I probably should. I'm probably going to feel stupid when I find out. But no chickens currently has good ventilation and stays warm. Have had chickens. Do quail need about the same temperatures and ventilation as chickens? Yeah, pretty similar to chickens, honestly. Now, here's the thing with quail, though. They are ground-dwelling birds, so they may or may not use, like if it's one of those that has the coop raised up, like the hutch part of it itself raised up, they may not get up in there and use that. I'm sure they do just fine in there, though. They do amazingly well in all kinds of different environments. I'm sure they would work just fine. As far as the temperature requirements, ventilation requirements, pretty much the same. All right. All right, Exotic Keeper says, yeah, I know, right. IMS, I'm not sure what that means. IMS, cycling my females and listening along like an interactive podcast. Oh, okay. I am so, maybe, no, I don't know what that means. I'm too old to know what all these TLAs are, 3-letter acronyms, I don't know. All right, Michael says, I moved mine out of my bedroom and into the bathroom. Interesting. William says, how soon and how old could you put quail outside, especially with winter weather? Okay, with winter, and it depends on how cold your winter is, of course, but you want to wait till they're 4 or 5 weeks old, probably, feathered out really well. Try to kind of acclimate them a little bit to that temperature. If you have like a garage or something that maybe doesn't get quite as cold as it does outside, you might move them out there first, give them a little while, a couple of days at least, maybe a week to get adjusted to that, and then move them on outside from there. But I'd give them at least till they're, and even if they're older birds, if they've been inside, you want to acclimate them. You don't want to take them from 75-degree inside weather all the time to, you know, -3 degrees outside, just like that. You know, you want to give them a little bit of time to adjust to that. Now, in the summertime, as soon as they're feathered out, pretty much, move them outside. They're fine. And again, you do want to acclimate them to that a little bit. You don't want to just take them from a 100-degree brooder, you know, box. So, you know, take the light off the brooder box, give them a couple of days, make sure they're doing fine. Then you can just move them outside usually, and it works just fine. All right. Rhonda says, we have bedding in the bottom of their cage, and yes, it makes a mess. It's the only thing I find annoying. Other than that, it's fine. Do you have other birds on your house? If so, the noise won't bother you at all. Yeah, if you have other birds around your house, like the songbirds outside and those kinds of things that are chirping, quail sound a lot like that. It's not that big a deal. All right, Sarah says, I had a raccoon attack my ducks, killed 2, and my mama duck killed raccoon. Really? Your mama duck killed the raccoon? Interesting. I'm surprised a duck could kill a raccoon. They can be pretty vicious. Kenyon says, I had something kill all 60 of my birds just a few days ago. Man, that's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that. If you have killing all 60 of them sounds like, you know, like stray dog, you know, something like that. Dogs will do that. It's rare for like raccoon or something like that to do it because they just take as much as they want to eat. But, you know, there are some things like mink, weasels, you know, those kinds of things. They will kill, all your birds too. So that, I'm sorry to hear that. Ultimate Outdoor Boy says, we have a problem with rats eating my quails. What's up with that? Yeah, rats are a predator too. Most people don't think of them that way. Luckily, I don't have a big problem with rats here, but I would get some big rat traps and, you know, put them on the legs of your quail hutches, bait them with peanut butter. You'll probably catch the rats that are doing that. Catherine says, she's graduating to my belly this weekend and I will look for a new doe. Yeah, that's pretty much all you can do, unfortunately. All right, Native says, so I should be fine, keep on buying eggs from the same seller, or any tips on creating new bloodlines myself? Thanks for all the help. Well, as far as creating new bloodlines, you'd have to, I'm not an expert in that area, so I don't know that I can give you the best answer, but it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of record keeping. You're going to have to make sure that you keep like breeding pairs separate. You can't mix them all together. So you're going to have to know what eggs came from this male and these females, what eggs came from the other males and females, and then somehow keep those separate when you hatch them out so you know what bloodlines are what. And it's a little bit of work. I'm not probably the best person to answer all that for you. Just thinking about trying to keep track of all that is crazy to me. So I don't mess with doing that. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about buying eggs from the same seller. If you're getting good results from them, it's probably fine. I wouldn't worry about it too much at all. If you really want to, buy some eggs from a different seller every once in a while, and you'll be fine. All right. Rhonda says, let's see, good question, Ronnie. I'm thinking about putting mine outside once I get a bigger flock and property. Oh, asking. Okay, good point. All right, Kenyon says, do you grow watermelon? I have tried, but no luck. I've grown some watermelon, but I don't really like watermelon. My wife does, so I grew some last year, and it wasn't great, but I pretty much just put it in the ground and kind of ignored it. We got some melons about, that big or so out of it. It wasn't great big. But no, as far as like on growing watermelon, it's very similar to cantaloupe. It's similar to any other kind of melon. You've got to irrigate it, keep the water just right. They tend to like pretty rich soil, so some good compost or something like that. Just about like you grow anything else, honestly. But they need to have the right amount of water. You don't want them sitting in water, but they do need a little bit more water than some of the other kinds of things you might grow. All right, Mary Sunshine says, how are we doing on time here? 15 minutes left. How would you suggest to easily slaughter the quail? Well, the way that I do that, and I've done a video on it, but it got marked as adult content, so you may or may not have seen that, but What I do with the quail is I take a screwdriver. It's a pretty long-handled screwdriver with a handle in. Knock them over the head to kind of stun them. Snip their head off with a pair of scissors. Their wings will go crazy for a minute. The nerves kicking around, those kinds of things. You make sure you're holding them over like a trash can or a bucket or something, because you'll make a mess if you don't. And just, give them a second. When they start to calm down, I say calm down, when the nerves start to calm down, the kicking's a little bit less. I snip the 2 wings off, snip the legs off at right about where the fur meets that, and then you can usually turn them over, grab the skin right on the breast, and just pull on it. It'll just tear right open, and you can skin them basically. And then at that point, it's just take a pair of scissors. Once they're skinned, cut right down the backbone on either side, and you can pull all that out, and you're left with basically a clean bird. You have to do a little bit of cleanup, but not much. You can just breast them out like a lot of people do doves. So basically just, same process, knock them on the head, snip the head off, dispatch them that way. And then, I'd go ahead and cut their wings off. That makes it a little bit easier. Then you turn them over and just kind of right where the breastbone kind of meets, there's a little bone right there. If you can kind of push your thumb in right there, I peel the skin back a little bit, it makes it a little easier, and just pull basically, and you can just pop the breast out. There's not a whole lot to them other than the breast anyway. The breast and the legs is about all you get, so that's kind of an easy way to do it as well. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. All right. Sarah says, I use a dimmer switch with a styrofoam cooler, and I took an idea to use the meat temperature thing to check my heat, and it worked wonderfully. Great, I'm glad to hear it. I've toyed with the idea of making my own incubator. I just haven't done it. All right. Yaks, Feathers, and Furs says, I've had rabbits and chickens for years, trying quail for the first time. I have 2 dozen in the incubator, and it looks like 20 of them are fertile. Your videos and tips help. Well, thanks for letting me know that. It's great to know that you found my videos helpful. I'm so glad to hear that, and congratulations on what looks like it's going to be probably a pretty good hatch. Good luck with it. I hope it goes well. All right, Julian says, what do you feed your quail? I feed all my quail game bird starter. It's a crumble feed, and it's a 30% actually, but I really recommend anything over about 25%. 25% or higher, I think, is a good one. And make sure the calcium level's 1.5, 2.5%, somewhere right around in there. If it's anything below 1.5%, you'll need to supplement with calcium probably. You don't really need anything above 2.5%. It's just kind of a waste at that point. So, but that's what I feed all my birds. You don't have to grind it up. You don't have to do anything for the small birds. That's what they eat. If you cannot find game bird starter in your area, you might look for turkey starter. Pretty much the same thing, and it usually has a higher % protein than chicken starter. And chicken starter is often medicated, which is okay if that's all you can find, but I prefer not to use medicated feed. All right. All right, Trapper TV says, how do you feel about taking fleshings off the animals I skin, then feeding it to my quail? I guess it's okay. I don't know if they'd eat it, though. My experience is that they tend to want to eat things that are, either the crumble, they eat just like crazy, but I don't know. I've never tried. I don't feel bad about it. I mean, go ahead and do it. If they'll eat it, by all means, go for it. All right, Ronnie says, thank you. I'll be watching your quail info. Cob is soil, sand, and straw. Okay, makes sense. It has straw bale insulation. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I think they'd do fine in that. That sounds like a pretty good setup for them. They might get pretty messy, but then again, I don't know if they get any messier than chickens, but who knows. All right, Michaela says, I have 2 young does that will not breed with the male. Been trying almost all week. Is there anything I can do so they breed sooner? Okay, this question comes up probably every time we do a live broadcast about does that will not breed. They just won't lift for the male. Most of the time, what I do is just keep doing it over and over and over again. Morning, night, next morning, next night, next morning, next night. And usually 5-6 times they're lifting for the buck and they're ready to go. You might try add some light, get them up to about 14 hours a day of light. That might put them a little bit more in the breeding mood. If none of that works, you can force breed, which would be like put the female in the male's cage and then kind of hold her in place, put your hand underneath her, and lift for the male. It's a little bit weird. It's a little bit awkward. Not really my preferred way to do things, but it's possible you can do that. Or I've heard people talk about taking the female, putting her in a pet carrier, and driving her around the block a few times, and then putting her in the cage with the male. Don't know why that would work. It makes no sense to me, but enough people have said it works that there's got to be something to it. So those are a couple of things to try. I hope that goes. I hope that helps anyway. Austin, how are you doing, buddy? I'm doing fine. And Sarah says she's a Muscovy duck. What are we talking about, the Muscovy duck? I lost that comment somewhere. I'm not sure. Oh, the Muscovy that killed the raccoon. Okay, that makes sense now. Well, okay, that makes sense with a Muscovy. But still, I'm surprised that it could kill a raccoon. Crazy. All right, how are we doing on time here? 10 more minutes left. Hey to you, Tony. Exotic Keeper says, so after my issue with coons and none wanting baby buns this winter, and no one wanting baby buns this winter, I'm thinking I'll move my quail to my small rabbit cages this spring, 24 by 18. The 1 by 1.5 inch floor should be fine, right? So 1 inch by 1/2 inch floor, that's probably a little bit big for the quail. They're probably going to end up with some foot problems. You probably want to switch that out to a hardware cloth, like a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch hardware cloth would be fine. Probably not a 1/4 inch. That'd be a little bit too small. The droppings probably wouldn't fall through. But yeah, I'd switch the floor out. Or you could just lay, hardware cloth right over the top of that floor, or, over the top, it would be the way to go. But yeah, I think that 1 inch by 1/2 inch is a little bit big. You can try it and see, but it's probably a little bit big, especially for baby quail. Whenever you first get them out of the incubator, or out of the brooder box, or moving them out, it's definitely too big for them. All right. Chat kind of died down again. How many people we got in here tonight? 44 right now. I don't know what the high was, but it's been going pretty good. Hopefully you guys are finding these live broadcasts helpful. Thank you for joining every week. I do appreciate that. Like I said, I let the chat kind of dictate the way the live broadcast goes. So if it wasn't for you guys joining in on the chat, then there wouldn't be much of a live broadcast. So I do appreciate that. Let's see. With that being said, the chat has died down. So again, I need to come up with some topics to discuss whenever there's nobody chatting in. Let's see, anything else interesting going on this week? Oh, look at that. The Backyard Farmer made it in. Glad to see you. Thank you. All right, Rhonda says, I know they sell killing cones for quail. I'm not sure I could just cut his head off. I had a hard time with a dead chicken and a duck with their heads. Yeah, it's not easy the first time you do it. That's definitely probably the hardest part of raising animals for meat. But the way I look at it is if I'm not doing it myself, I'm paying somebody else to do it. So I mean, it's just part of life. That's that's all you can do. So it's I don't enjoy it. It's like I said, my least favorite part. But cutting their head off is probably the most humane way I've found. And again, I knock them on the back of the head really good, so they're pretty much unconscious when it happens anyway. Stunned pretty good. I try to make it as quick, as painless as I can. Art says, thank you for all the info. Well, no problem. Thanks for watching the videos. I'm glad that you find them helpful. William says, I put my quail eggs in the incubator on the 18th day, 15 for lockdown. Would that be the first or second? Also, what humidity should I aim for? Okay. I put my quail eggs in the incubator on the 18th. Okay, count the 18th as day number 1. Hopefully that makes sense. And then, yeah, I would go into lockdown on 15 or 16. 15 is probably a good one. To go into lockdown. As far as humidity at lockdown, well, before lockdown, I usually like to shoot for somewhere between 55–60% humidity, somewhere around in there. If it goes a little bit higher than that, it's fine. If it goes just a little bit lower than that, it's okay. At lockdown, I like to shoot for probably about 75% humidity. Try not to go much above 80%. That's a little high. You might end up with birds like aspirating and drowning, basically, because the humidity is so high. Try to keep it 65 to 75% would be the range I would shoot in for lockdown. Hopefully that answers that. All right, Tony Young says, I've watched your channel I haven't watched your channel in a while, but glad I found it again. Well, I'm glad you found it again too, and that's okay. I don't expect everybody to watch every single video I put out there. Hopefully, when you do watch them, you find them helpful. You find them, I'm not that entertaining most of the time, I don't think. I'm more of a teacher than a entertainer, but hopefully you guys enjoy the videos. And thanks for watching the ones that you do. I appreciate you joining us. Daryl says, can quail eat wild birds? Not all the time diet for them. Quail are omnivores. A big part of their diet is insects and things like that. They will eat seeds and things. Here's another thing to consider is if you're not feeding your birds a you know, like a commercial birds like crumble feed. If you're going to feed them wild bird seed and some of those kinds of things, they're going to need grit in their diet in order to be able to grind that up and to digest it properly. So if you're going to feed them those kinds of things, you really need to add some grit. And don't mix it in with their food. Just offer it, put it in a dish on the side and offer it free choice. Same thing with calcium. If you need to add calcium supplements, which you very seldom, don't mix it in with their food. Leave it on the side, leave it free choice so they can just get as much as they want when they want it. All right. Christian says, have you ever had predator problems with your quail or rabbits? Yeah, I kind of talked about that a little bit. Not big predator problems. I've had raccoons come up, try to get at them or at least show some interest. Never have been able to. My dog, not my current dog, my old dog before she died, she got into one of my cages one time when I had him in the garage, just busted through the hardware cloth and ate like 12 quail. But other than that, it's not been a big problem for me. Let's see, I had a hawk one time, a young hawk, that just was dead set on getting at the quail. And he would sit on top of the hutch, he'd crawl underneath it, hang upside down on it, and try to grab them through the bottom of the quail hutch. But he gave up pretty quick and left. But anyway, that's about it. The Backyard Farmer says, if humidity drops real low, how bad is it? It depends on when it's dropping. How, you know, if it drops, you know, really low, especially during lockdown, if the birds have pipped already, in other words, they've cracked their shell already, and the humidity drops really low, then it can kind of shrink wrap them inside their egg, and they end up dying and suffocating that way. So that can be bad. But before lockdown, humidity is not as serious. Now, when you say drops really low, I don't know what really low is. I mean, if it drops down into the like 10% range, then yeah, that's probably pretty bad. But you know, honestly, humidity is not as big of an issue as temperature is. All right. Rhonda says, I laugh every time you say drive around the block with the doe. Hey, one day I might have to. I might have to. You never know. Yeah, that's always a funny thing. And I pretty much answer that question, I think, the same way every single time it's asked. And I don't mind. Keep asking the question if you have questions. It's fine. You don't know that somebody else has asked that question. But it comes up every time we have a live broadcast. It's the most common problem I think people have. Again, that's okay. I don't mind answering it multiple times. When I was brand new to rabbits, it was a problem I had, and I had to look up that answer too. So I get it. But yeah, that driving around the block, I've never had to try that. But like I said, enough people talk about it, enough people swear by it. There's got to be something to it. It just makes no sense to me. I cannot figure out why that would work. Who knows? All right, Raphael says, are you going to get more rabbits? I'll probably get another doe at some point. I've been watching Craigslist to see if anybody has a good quality doe go for sale anytime, you know, anywhere close to me. Haven't found one yet, but not in a huge hurry for it. All right, Christian says, will you ever do mealworms? Probably not. Just too much work. I just don't have time for that. But, you know, maybe. Who knows? Christopher says, hey, Chris, will Christmas lights be good enough to get them laying again? Also, when's the solar light combo coming out? Okay, Christmas lights, depends on how bright they are, depends on a number of things. I've heard people use Christmas lights. I think they would work probably just fine. My personal experience is I had some pretty dim lights that were probably about Christmas lights, and they just didn't do it for me. But anyway, try them out. If you've got them, put them on there, see. Give it a couple of weeks, maybe a month, because it takes a little while for them to get back in the egg laying cycle. The first thing you'll notice probably is the roosters start crowing. If the roosters start crowing, it's probably working. But I didn't have good luck with dim lights, and the Christmas lights aren't that bright. Now, as far as the solar light, it's going to be coming out on Kickstarter probably in the next couple of weeks, and if I meet my goal on Kickstarter, if you guys don't know, Kickstarter is one of those kinds of all or nothing. I have to set the goal as to how much I want to earn, or need to earn, I should say, to get the bulk order in and be able to market it and ship it out to everybody. And if I meet that goal, then I get the money. If I don't meet that goal, I don't get the money, and I won't be able to buy the lights to get it shipped out to everybody. So we'll see. And that doesn't, if you're supporting Kickstarter, if the goal is not met, you don't get charged. So don't worry about that. There's no risk in it for you in that sense. But yeah, probably a couple of weeks, and then it will probably be, 30 days after that. The Kickstarter is probably going to run for about 30 days, and it's probably going to be, a month or two after that before they actually get to me where I can send them out. So it's not going to be ready for spring, but it'll be ready well in advance of next fall. Keep your birds laying a little bit longer into the fall. All right. Danny says, do you add anything to water for baby quail? I don't add anything to the water. It's just tap water. Just comes right out of the tap. That's the ones they get. That's the water they get. All right, we're about out of time here. Let's see if I can get a couple more comments answered. Is there a certain humidity for the brooder? Probably a silly question, but just wondered. Not necessarily a silly question. I don't worry about the humidity in the brooder. You know, I live in a fairly humid area. In the summertime anyway, it's pretty humid around here. In the wintertime, it's pretty dry. And I've never noticed any problems with the birds in the brooder box related to humidity. All right, Christian says, maybe the rabbit thinks it's a new place. Well, that's why the driving around the block might work. Maybe. Who knows? Exotic Keeper says, somehow got 5 minutes behind in TuneVid. I don't know what that, in TuneVid, what the, okay, anyway. LOL, the small rabbit cages was 1 inch by ½ inch, 1 high and 1.5 sounds even too big for rabbits. I'm losing track. Oh, you're talking about the rabbit cage you want to use. Yeah, 1 inch by 1/2 inch. Yeah, 1 inch by ½ inch, right. 1 inch by ½ inch for, that's still a little bit big for rabbit, or for quail feet. So yeah, you may want to switch that out. All right. Yeah, not supposed to be enjoyable. I don't cry about it, but yeah, it is the toughest part, having to dispatch animals. But you know, if you're raising them for meat, you're going to have to do it. And if you eat meat, you're either doing it yourself or you're paying somebody else to do it. So, all right. Backyard Survivalist says today's LED Christmas lights would probably work. They probably would. Try them out and see. Angel says, I've heard rabbits taste better if they are loose and feed on wild grass and stuff like that. Do you know if that's true? Probably. It's hard for me to say. You know, wild rabbits taste different than domestic rabbits. You know, rabbit meat doesn't have real strong flavor to it no matter what kind of rabbit you're, you know, whether it's fed on grass, whatever, it's not going to have a real strong flavor. But yeah, what you feed the animal does have an effect on the flavor of the meat. Especially whether they get more fat on them or, you know, rabbit tends to be very, very lean. So, yeah, I'm assuming it would make a difference, but how much, it's hard to say. All right, Christian says, have you ever heard of magic water from Justin Rhodes? No. I mean, I know who Justin Rhodes is. I was going to make a comment about magic water. Sounds like snake oil to me, but no, Justin Rhodes seems to be pretty level-headed. I don't know what magic water is, though. No, never heard of it. Oh, maybe it does. Driving them around kicks in a survival instinct, maybe? Maybe it does. You may be onto something there. All right, Backyard Farmer, thanks for all the videos and information. Keep it coming, brother. Well, thank you so much for watching. And Brian Davis says, just started on raising quail. Would the jumbo be the best for meat and eggs? Yeah, I think jumbo farrow is probably the best. That's my favorite anyway. Produce the largest eggs. They grow out fast. They're big birds. So, yep, they are a great option for meat and eggs. All right, guys, I got to get, as far as quail hunting, have I been quail hunting? Yes, but it's been years. Our quail population in the wild's really kind of dwindled. There's just not a lot of them left anymore. So I haven't done it since I was it's probably been 20 years since I've been quail hunting. All right, I got to wrap this up, guys. It's a little past 8 o'clock. Got to go spend some time with the family. My wife is in there. Just got home from work. And it sounds like she's trying. Thank you guys for joining tonight. Thank you again for all the prayers for my wife. They have paid off. Things are going great there. And